Hey, did you know our brains are always changing and growing? It's like they're on a journey. Well, I think maybe our hearts are on a journey too. Maybe they're supposed to connect, like tuning into the same radio station. So, I'm taking a chance and tuning into you. What do you say? The human brain is super complicated. It's like a puzzle made by nature, or some people say, by God. This puzzle isn't just sitting there doing nothing. It's always changing and growing, even as we get older. This ability of the brain to change is called neuroplasticity. It's like the brain's way of remodeling itself. This is kind of a big deal because it shows that the brain isn't stuck in one way of doing things. It's flexible, like how we think of God's endless love and ability to forgive. Throughout history, people have seen the brain as a really important part of who we are. Some think it's where our soul lives and where we connect with God. There's a line in a book called Romans that says we should change the way we think, and then we'll understand what God wants for us. So, if our brains can change and grow, maybe they're like a pathway for God's messages. It's like tuning a radio to catch the right frequency. Maybe, if our minds are flexible enough, we can tune in to God's wisdom. Ancient books from different religions talk a lot about change and becoming a better person. They also talk about the brain in a way that seems to fit with what we know about neuroplasticity. If our brains can learn and grow, maybe they're also designed to hear and understand messages from God. It's like having a radio that's really good at picking up signals. If we live good lives and try to be kind, maybe our brains become better at hearing what God is saying. Our choices and the people we're around can really affect our brains. Just like how being with good people can make us feel good, our brains can also thrive when we're in a positive environment. In religious terms, doing good things and being kind can bring us closer to God. And it turns out this also helps our brains grow and change in good ways. So, our journey to being closer to God is also a journey of making our brains healthier and happier. Words have a lot of power. They can make us feel happy, sad, or even change how we see the world. This is true not just in our relationships with others, but also in our connection with God. In a book called John, it says that in the beginning there was something called the Word, and it was with God. This shows how important words are in our relationship with God. When we speak kindly and with love, it's like we're opening our hearts to hear God's message more clearly. Speaking with kindness can brighten up someone's day, and it can also make us feel closer to God. On the other hand, speaking harshly can make it hard for us to hear God's voice. So, it's important to choose our words carefully. Our emotions are also tied to this. When we're feeling angry or upset, it can be hard to feel connected to God. But when we're calm and at peace, it's easier to hear what God might be trying to tell us. To hear God's messages clearly, we need to calm our minds and hearts. Our words and our feelings are connected, and they both affect how we connect with God. So, when we're tempted to say something hurtful, it's a good idea to pause and think about how it might affect our relationship with God. Asking for God's help in these moments can give us the strength to choose our words wisely. There's a saying in a book called Psalms that asks for our words and thoughts to be pleasing to God. This shows how important it is to watch what we say and think. The way our brains can change and adapt throughout our lives shows that there's something special about how we're made. It's like there's a plan for us to grow and become better people, both in our minds and in our souls. This plan isn't just about how our brains work, though. It's also about the choices we make and how they affect us spiritually. In many religions, there's a teaching about cause and effect, which means that what we do has consequences. This applies to our brains too. Every choice we make shapes our brains in some way, and this affects our spiritual journey. Another important idea is that we have the power to choose our path in life. This means we can choose to do things that bring us closer to God, or things that push us away. Our choices aren't just about what we do. they also affect how our brains grow and change. So, by making good choices, we're not only living in a way that pleases God, but we're also helping our brains become healthier and stronger. Our brains are capable of more than just changing how they're wired. They can also grow new cells and connections. This is like a physical version of what happens when we learn new things or have new experiences. It shows that our brains are always ready to adapt and grow, just like our souls are always ready to learn and become better. Just like our brains can grow and change, our souls can too. When we ask for forgiveness and try to be better people, it's like hitting the reset button on our souls. This is a reminder that we always have the chance to start fresh and become the person God wants us to be. But this journey isn't always easy. There are challenges along the way that test us and help us grow. Sometimes, when things don't go the way we planned, it's a sign that there's something else waiting for us. This can be true in both our spiritual journey and in how our brains develop. Just like our brains can adapt to new situations, our souls can also find new paths to follow. It's all part of the journey of becoming closer to God and understanding His plan for us. Life's challenges can be tough, but they can also help us grow stronger. Just like how working out can make our muscles stronger, facing challenges can make our souls stronger. This is a reminder that even when things seem hard, God is always there to guide us and help us find our way. Our brains are amazing, and they show us just how incredible God's design is. But it's not just our brains that are amazing, it's also our souls. Together, they help us understand God's plan for us and guide us on our journey through life. By listening to our hearts and minds, we can hear the messages that God is sending us and find the path that leads us closer to Him. Whether it's through a moment of clarity, a kind word from a friend, or a quiet moment of reflection, God is always speaking to us. We just have to listen with open hearts and minds. In the end, our journey through life isn't just about our bodies, it's also about our hearts and minds. Our brains keep changing, and so do our souls. When we understand how our thoughts, feelings, and actions connect, we can better hear what God is telling us. Choosing to be kind, asking for forgiveness, and facing tough times are all part of getting closer to God. When we stop and think, we can hear God's guidance, helping us become better people. So, let's keep our hearts and minds open, because that's how we find the special things in life.